Good evening, I'm Diane Mahan, I'm Chair of the Select Board. I just remind everyone tonight that this meeting is being taped by ACMi and broadcasted on ACMi. Also joining me tonight are
John Hurd.
Jane Morgan.
Steve DeCourcy.
James Feeney, Town Manager.
Michael Cunningham, Town Council.
Ashley Marr, Board Administrator.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Minutes of meeting, November 3rd, 2025, November 10th, 2025, executive session minutes, July 21st, 2025, for approval, 20B exemption for 2 municipal roles, Officer Meredith Gallagher. Reappointment Parks and Rec Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2028, Josh Fenalosa, request special one-day beer and wine license December 13, 2025 at Robbins Memorial Town Hall for winter market from Thomas Allen. Request special one-day beer and wine license January 13, 2026, January 27, 2026, April 14, 26, April 29, 26, May 5th, 26, May 13th, 26 at the Mill Cafe for a community education event submitted by Jen Rothenberg. Winter Snowflakes banners submitted from the Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director Beth Locke, and Black History Month banners submitted by our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director, Ramsha Beluch. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
By Mr. Hurd, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. DeCourcy, any questions or comments? If not, on a motion by Mr. Hurd, seconded by Mr. DeCourcy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous vote. We now go to appointments. Civilian Advisory Committee, Sylvia Dominguez, term to expire December 31st, 2028. Is Sylvia with us in person or by Zoom?
She'll be joining via Zoom.
I'm here.
Good evening, good to see you. If you could just officially introduce yourself and give us a sort of brief synopsis of your interest in the Civilian Police Advisory Committee, please.
Okay, my name is Sylvia Dominguez. I am a professor of sociology at Northeastern University. And I am interested in this because I think that participating in this can only improve the situation between the community and the residents of Arlington. I think the police and the residents of Arlington. I think that I can be very effective in the sense of thinking through different strategies of on how I can maybe bridge a lot of the situations that need to happen in order for something like this to take effect, and also to talk to enough people to be informed about what are the issues of concern to people about all of this. So in any case, that's why I'm interested in participating, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And one of our town residents, former town meeting member, George Late, speaks very highly of you. He saw that your appointment was on tonight, and he made it a point to express his support for you. So
Thank you.
With that, I'll turn to my colleagues.
Move approval.
Move approval by Mr. Hurd,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Any further discussion or comments? If not, on a motion by Mr. Hurd, seconded by Mrs. Morgan, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you so much, Ms. Dominguez. I can now go back to Mr. Lade and tell him you were approved.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. Human Rights Commission, term to expire October 31st, 2026. Marie Meslin.
Will be joining us via Zoom.
Thank you.
Already on the second page.
Not bad, right? Don't worry, traffic rules and orders.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. If I said your name incorrectly, my apologies. If you could introduce yourself as well as give us a sort of brief summary of your interest in the Human Rights Commission.
Sure, yeah, my name is Marie Meslin. I've been in Arlington for about 15 and a half years. My interest is in the Human Rights Commission. I've actually attended a meeting already just to kind of get a bit more of an understanding of the process and everything that they do. Essentially, I am a new citizen, became an American citizen in 2019, and my background is in international women's rights as well as social impact and entrepreneurship. And I kind of consider this as one of the requirements for me to really fully become an American citizen in terms of what it means to give back to the community.
Well, congratulations on your citizenship. My daughter-in-law from Nepal went through the process. I don't know that I could have passed the test that you all had to take. And my son-in-law, who's Romanian, will also be taking that.
There you
So
go.
It's quite an accomplishment, so congratulations on that, as well as thank you for, volunteering your time. We have so many people that we couldn't possibly afford them. And for you to give up your time from your family and professional life is definitely appreciated. But with that, I'll turn to my colleagues.
Move approval?
Move approval by Mr. DeCoursey,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hurd. Any questions or comments? If not, on a motion to approve the appointment to the Human Rights Commission by Mr. DeCoursey, seconded by Mr. Hurd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, unanimous vote. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good night.
Good night. Licenses and permits for approval, a wine and malt alcohol license, Room Rye Munkon Chokti, Inc., doing business as Suman, Tarita Charon Vezyenko. I apologize because I know I did not get that right, 444 Mass Ave. Is someone here in person or by Zoom?
I would just ask if they are here by Zoom to raise their hand.
Recognizing I probably did not even come close to your name, I apologize, but if the proponent for 444 Mass Ave for the approval for the wine and malt alcohol license, if you could raise your hand and make yourself known if you're joining us by Zoom. If not, I will move on, and if we see them before the end of the meeting, we'll come back to that. We'll now go to, for approval, Class 1 licenses. MAG Retail Holdings LLC, doing business as McGovern Chevrolet, Matt McGovern, 1125 Mass Ave, as well as same entity, same DBA at 1165 Mass Ave. Is Mr. McGovern with us? If you could come up to the table. And just, once again, say your name and business address affiliation and any other remarks you'd like to make on your request. Please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Matt McGovern, representing McGovern Auto Group, and we're here before you to apply for 2 different Class 1 licenses for the operations at 1125 Massachusetts Avenue for a Chevrolet dealership and a Hyundai dealership. We recently entered into an agreement to buy the dealerships from the Myrack family, and we're looking to close on the transaction in about a month. And in preparation of that, we've applied for the Class 1 licenses for that location.
Thank you. Welcome. If I could just ask Town Council guidance on this, 2 separate motions?
Be 2 separate motions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
So we'll start with the request for 1125 Mass Ave, which is Myrack Chevrolet, which will be, if we vote positively, McGovern Chevrolet.
Yes.
Is there a motion from my colleagues? Mr. DeCoursey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, move approval, subject to all conditions. Do want to welcome Mr. McGovern, and the only thing I would point out here, there is several references in the reports just to signage, so when you do make the changes in the signage, make sure you're in compliance with our sign bylaws.
Okay, fair enough.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Any further questions or comments? If not, on a motion to approve, 1125 Mass F, Class 1 license to Mr. McGovern, made by Mr. DeCoursey, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now go to the second Class 1 license request by Mr. McGovern at 1165 Mass Ave. Mr. DeCoursey?
Yeah, move approval.
Second.
Same as well, subject to all conditions. Any further questions or comments? Are we good, Attorney Cunningham? Good to
Yes,
go?
Madam Chair.
Okay, so a motion to approve by Mr. DeCoursey, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, unanimous vote. I will now go to open forum. If you are joining us virtually by Zoom,
Sorry, Mrs. Mahan, it
Yes.
looks as though the applicant for Suman is raising your hand. If I could
Oh,
promote that
okay.
before open forum.
definitely, thank you. Thank you. I just realized I didn't open up my laptop. I'm using my backup when I don't really have to.
Thank you.
Hi, if you could just unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? And I apologize, I don't know if you heard me not say your name correctly. We're going back to agenda item 11 for approval, wine and malt license. If you could just say your name and affiliation for the record.
Yes, the name is Thalita Chalerwet Yangkun, and the business name Lamroi Mankong Chokdi.
Okay, and I really didn't say Tarita Charon Ves Yankel
Yes, that's
appropriately,
correct.
but I came close, right?
Yes,
Okay, and you are requesting the Select Board for approval of a wine and malt alcohol license at 444 Mass Ave. If you could just tell us about why you're asking for that and how you see you will do business serving food with a wine and malt alcohol license to make sure everything's done correctly,
sure.
the right way.
We opened the sushi, ramen, and donburi restaurant on the 444 Massachusetts Avenue in Arlington. And many customers asking about to drink and with our food. Sometimes they call like, do you have the beer and wine? We said no. Okay, they said then they said okay, when if you have, I will we come to eat at the restaurant.
Okay.
And yeah, and I think our food is matching with sake and beer when eat with our food.
Okay, and have you ever had a restaurant where you've had
Yes.
beer and wine?
I have one in the Dorchester.
Okay, and it's not a requirement, but are your servers there, and will they be here, go through the program and be tip certified? Are you familiar with that?
Yes. No. Tip 35?
Yeah, there's a, Attorney Cunningham, is there a way you could explain it better than I? It's not a requirement, correct?
I think it is.
No, but,
But service of alcohol is a certification program provided by this, to provide employees of establishments the proper way to serve alcohol, to recognize instances of potential abuse of alcohol by patrons, other issues related to the service of alcohol within a dining establishment.
so that's something that the state offers. You don't have to do it, but a lot of the restaurants who serve alcohol have their servers go through it and be certified. And they find it helpful, sometimes just in terms of what the current business of serving alcohol is and things to look out for. So you might want to look into that, because Arlington's very vigilant, where we definitely go and check businesses to make sure that alcohol is being served properly to the proper
Yes.
age.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, and I'll just let you know, just out of, past history, that when restaurants or other establishments, but mostly restaurants, when we've gone out and they failed the test because they haven't served it properly, it usually was someone who was filling in at the last minute, because that's how the restaurant business is, and really didn't know what the right and wrong way is to serve alcohol. And this board, not that other boards aren't, but we take it very seriously to make sure that that's done properly. So, and not that you wouldn't, but I just wanted to pass that on to you, that we've seen restaurants in business for many, many years, and they'd say, you know, I've been doing this for 7 years, and it was one night, you know, we had to call someone in, so just to let you know that. And that's not saying anything negative to you, just passing that along, that's all.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I will turn to my colleagues.
Move approval?
Move approval by Mr. Hurd. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. DeCoursey. Attorney Cunningham, did I cover everything? Everything's all set so
Yes,
far?
Madam Chair.
Any further questions or comments? If not, on a motion to approve the wine and malt alcohol request. All those in favor say aye. Made by Mr. Hurd, seconded by Mr. DeCoursey. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous vote. Congratulations, and
Thank you so much.
good luck with the business. We know how hard it is to do any business, but especially
Yeah.
restaurant, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So now we will go to open forum. If anyone wants to join in open forum by Zoom, please use the raise hand feature, which is usually located at the bottom of your screen, a little yellow hand. You can click that on now, as well as anyone here in the chambers who's not here to speak to an agenda item. You can speak under open forum. Except in unusual circumstances, any matter presented for consideration of the board shall neither be acted upon nor a decision made the night of the presentation in accordance with the policy under which the open forum was established. It should also be noted there is a 3-minute time limit to present a concern or request. Is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to speak under open forum? If you could come up to our fancy table and say your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Larry Slotnick, 94 Grafton Street, which is Precinct 7, where I'm a town meeting member. I don't have a lot of prepared remarks. I'm here about a project that's before the ARB right now, which is 126 Broadway. That's the corner of Everett Street. It's a typical two-family, 100-year-old building, 2.5-story house. This developer is proposing to demolish it. There have been 3 hearings conducted already by the ARB. The next one, it's continued now till January. So the developer is proposing a 14-unit, 5-story building. And they are attempting or proposing to utilize bonus features within the MBTA overlay new zoning. That's about a year old. I think this will be the first project in Arlington where a developer attempts to utilize bonus options, basically to add a 5th story onto what the Broadway overlay district pretty much calls for 4-story construction. So I'm here because these hearings have kind of been sold out, standing room only, these last 2 hearings right next door on Maple Street. The most recent hearing, the chairwoman, Rachel Zemberry, allocated pretty much about 10 to 12 minutes for public comment after all the other business was done. And she had at least two other large projects on the same agenda for the last hearing date. So a lot of the public that came to share, their comments weren't able to. I hope that improves in January. Number one, there's another point that there's been such a gathering of neighborhood, I'm not going to say opposition, but, concern about how the ARB is, I'm going to just have to say, conducting itself at these public hearings when there are actually disagreements amongst ARB members about, the developer's opportunity to earn a bonus floor with the design that they're proposing. So much so that a couple of folks circulated a petition, with a letter, a statement that gathered about 175 signatures, and this was submitted, I believe, to the select board, to the town manager and town council. And the Chair Zemberry barely even acknowledged receipt of that letter. It was sent in before the November hearing date. So I'm just here to state this. We,
Okay.
as a
If
town
you
meeting
want-
member.
If you want to just, another sentence or two.
Yeah, I'll close it up. I did vote for this zoning package, and I thought I was paying attention pretty closely during town meeting to all the deliberations, and, when this project and when we saw the drawing package that was submitted became public, it really kind of took the breath away from a lot of us who live on adjacent streets. And Grafton Street, where I live, is one street over from Everett. So I'm just kind of making that statement today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
And you're correct, we have received that.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
that's good to know.
Is there anyone else in the chambers? Anyone on Zoom? If you
Yes,
could,
one hand raised.
and after you're promoted, if you could just state your name and address for the record, but we don't see you yet. Oh, now we can see you.
Hi, can you hear me?
And now we can hear you.
Awesome, thank you so much. Winnell Evans, Orchard Place, also a town meeting member in Precinct 14. And I want to speak to upcoming agenda item 15 about the appeal for a tree removal in front of 53 Churchill Avenue. I just want to bring to the board's attention the fact that this tree removal, as I understand it, is being requested so that it is easier to get in and out of an apron parking space, which is in the front setback of this property. I'm not sure how this got permitted because our zoning bylaw prohibits parking in the front setback. So this would kind of be compounding a zoning bylaw violation. And I just want to make sure that the board is aware of that as you begin your discussion. And hopefully this tree can be preserved. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in Zoom with the raised hand?
Seeing no hands raised, Mrs. Mon.
And here in the chambers? Open forum is closed. We will now go to traffic rules and order. Other business, sorry, my phone's distracting me. Agenda item 13, Arlington Community Electricity Plan updates from our most excellent sustainability manager, Talia Fox.
Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Talia Fox, Arlington Sustainability Manager. I will present briefly on the updates to the Arlington Community Electricity Plan. And the goal for tonight is just for the Select Board to provide any comments on the plan and authorize the town manager to make any modifications to the plan before the close of the 30-day public comment period, which will end on January 7th. So, next slide. As you may know, electricity customers in Massachusetts are required to pay for electricity distribution through the utility, but we can choose to purchase electricity supply from competitive suppliers. Arlington Community Electricity, or ACE, is a town-vetted municipal aggregation program launched in 2017. It's enabled by state law, and it allows the town to purchase competitive electricity supply in bulk on behalf of residents. ACE has several benefits listed on the slide, and just to name a few, Participants can choose from products with different levels of renewable energy and cost. ACE's fixed contract prices offer stability for the 2 to 3 years of a given contract, which insulates customers from fluctuating utility rates. And historically, the program has saved residents money, though future savings are not guaranteed. Next slide, please. The town is currently in a 3-year contract with Direct Energy, which began November 2024 and ends in December 2027. Our current program has 3 products with different levels of renewable energy and associated prices. Arlington Basic has the minimum level of renewable energy required by the state's Renewable Portfolio Standard and is the lowest cost option. ACE Local Green is our default product, and this is the product that anyone who opens an electricity account in Arlington is added to automatically, unless they choose to opt out of the program, which they are free to do. This option currently has 100% total renewable energy, which is actually quite exciting. We're the first municipality in the state to offer this option. That was a decision the select board made a couple of springs ago. ACE Local Greenest is the third option, which has 100% additional renewable energy in addition to what the state requires. And those additional renewables are in the local green and greenest options are categorized by the state as Massachusetts Class 1. So that means they come from local solar, wind, anaerobic digestion, and low-impact hydropower sources. Next slide, please. Just to emphasize some of the program statistics and successes, we have very high participation relative to other communities. Over 15,000 accounts in Arlington are enrolled, and that's about 71% of all eligible accounts in town. The majority of residents are perhaps understandably enrolled in our 100% default product, which means that we're having a very large impact from an environmental standpoint, and that was very important to the board when we made the decision to choose that 100% default. So just to paint a picture, the ACE customers collectively purchase more than 75,000 megawatt hours of additional renewable energy annually, which is equal to the output of approximately 7 land-based wind turbines. And the cumulative savings through the program since its launch total about $6.9 million, which is on average about $480 per account, though again, we cannot guarantee future savings. Next slide, please. So I'm here tonight because the town intends to update the 2017 ACE plan document. And there are 2 key reasons we are updating the plan. The first is that there is a new municipal aggregation plan template from the Department of Public Utilities, or DPU, which is beneficial for us to model our plan after. Second, we have an opportunity to make it easier for low-income residents in Arlington to save money through automatic enrollment in ACE's cheapest option, Arlington Basic. Next slide, please. So first, the new DPU template was finalized last year after a long process initiated by municipalities, including Arlington, aggregators, and other stakeholders. The updated template retains all key elements from the previous one, including basic information about the plan's products, requirements for customer notification and public review, and roles and responsibilities of those involved in program management. Key changes include standardizing reporting procedures to enhance transparency and the ability for the town to introduce new product options or make changes without waiting for lengthy DPU approval, which was a significant challenge that a lot of municipalities were facing. Next slide, please. So this new flexibility, for example, makes it easier for us to modify the program structure to introduce something like automatic enrollment for certain low-income residents in our cheapest product. So enrollment in the cheapest Arlington Basic product versus our default product can save a resident about $150 a year, depending on their overall electricity usage. This change responds directly to a concern that the board raised about the cost impact of the 100% default on low-income residents specifically. And since the launch of the new contract, staff have worked to educate residents about the different options through the plan and specifically target low-income residents through tabling at Arlington Eats and the Housing Corporation of Arlington. But there's still a long way to go to make sure that low-income residents who are eligible are enrolled in that ACE product. So the auto-enrollment would really help alleviate the burden on low-income residents to enroll proactively in the basic product. This change would affect approximately 600 Arlington residents currently enrolled in the default local green option, as well as the Eversource discount rate. So the way that we would auto-enroll these residents is we would enroll at residents who are automatically, or who are already in the Eversource discount rate. So that's something that they would have already had to elect into as well. So we're going to continue our outreach to make sure that those residents are enrolled in the Eversource discount rates. Next slide, please. So just to summarize next steps, again, tonight the goal is for the select board to provide any comments and ask questions, and then to provide any guidance to the town manager about modifications to the plan prior to adopting it after the 30-day public comment period. We'll launch our public comment period tomorrow, and it'll end January 7th. We'll advertise this through all the various channels at our disposal, the town notice, social media, our website. I'll also send some targeted notices to community groups, especially those that serve low-income customers. And we'll finalize the contract amendment once the plan is approved in the new year to facilitate that automatic enrollment of low-income customers in the basic product. And with that, I'll conclude. We also have a representative from our consultant, Good Energy, here, Rafida Rahman, who's available to answer any questions that I cannot answer. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Turn it to Mr. Feeney. Have we covered everything so far?
I think we have. I just do have one question that I'll
Sure.
pose to Ms. Fox. And if we received approval tonight moving forward, and then we have the public comment period, and we ultimately executed the contract amendment, how long would it take for the re-enrollment to take place?
For those eligible low-income residents. So it would take, my understanding is approximately a few months because there are notification period requirements. So we'd have to issue letters to all of those eligible customers that they have the ability to opt out from that basic product, or opt up, I guess, or opt out of the program. So I think, and yeah, about 3 months is, yeah, my understanding.
Perfect, thank you.
I just have a follow-up question on that. When we mail to the 600 or so residents, just a question, not a requirement, will it say something on the envelope, something about information about electricity rates, or, and not to be disrespectful, but like if somebody sees something from town hall and they say, oh, this is probably from Mahan, that politician, I don't want to read it, versus, not that they don't want to read stuff from me, but do you know the question I'm asking? I'm going too long in it. Will it say anything on the front that identifies that it's about Arlington basic electricity rates?
I think it could, I think it certainly could if it, yeah, okay. So we also typically get to approve, yeah, if you want to come up, actually. That
Do you want to come up because of the microphone?
Typically, we're able to review any of the materials that are going to get mailed out to customers. So we could also, I think, suggest what to put on the envelope as well.
So what we do is,
Can you just say your name for the record?
my name is Rafida Rahman, and I work as a sustainability and engagement strategist at Good Energy, and we're the consultant to the town of Arlington, and I'm also the program manager for this program. So like I was saying, we do something called a sweep every quarter, where we kind of send letters about the program to new customers, new eligible customers, people who have moved to the town or are in basic service. And that's exactly what we plan to do for these particular customers as well. Like when we do our standard sweeps, we plan to give another letter to these low-income customers, which will be a separate thing, and it will be sent in an envelope which has the town seal and the program name and all the necessary information needed.
Okay, great. Because when you're in that situation, you go, I'm not another bill, I'm throwing it out. Mr. Hurd?
Thank you for the presentation. I know you've explained this to me before, but for my benefit and the public's benefit, I always, when I see this, it's an amazing program, but have trouble wrapping my brain around 7% renewable energy. Can you just explain that briefly, just for, I think for the public that sees this says, well, how can you get more than 100% for renewable energy for the town? If you could just explain that quickly.
Absolutely. So the the renewable energy that we're purchasing in the form of what's called renewable energy certificates, which are actually sort of a legal instrument that's representative of the environmental attributes of 1 megawatt hour of clean energy. And so what we're doing is, well, what residents are doing is they're purchasing renewable energy to match their own usage. So in the case of a 127% renewable product, they're going to be purchasing RECs equivalent to their usage, so 100% plus 27%, if that makes sense. It is a little confusing. It's, yes, it's sort of the way we have to promote renewable energy right now in the region, so.
Yeah, I
hope
appreciate
that
that. You know, I appreciate that, and, you know, it's a good refresher for me, but again, I think it helps, you know, residents who are looking at this understand what we're actually getting and why it's important. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move,
Mr. DeCoursey,
and sorry, are you looking for a motion to approve or just comments?
I move receipt. Is this a move approve or move receipt, Attorney Cunningham?
Oh, we don't really need a vote of approval. I think this is more like an informational.
I guess it's up to Mr. Manager whether, how would you like to
Yeah,
proceed here?
This evening,
Yeah.
we were seeking a motion with a vote of support for updating our community choice aggregation plan because it was initially approved by the board.
I'll move to support the plan as presented.
By Mr. Hurd.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Mr. DeCoursey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ms. Fox, for the presentation, the work you've done on this, because I know the town of Arlington had submitted comments when this template was first announced, or the investigation was first announced. Just a question, I know you were satisfied with what came out of the DPU process. Was there anything that they may have missed that the communities were looking for that maybe for next time, or?
That's a great question. I honestly think Arlington got everything that we were specifically asking for. I think we were most concerned about the previous template's requirement that we would have to kick certain people out of the program in order to modify our products. And we got sort of a win there with the new template in that we can make modifications to the program without lengthy review and without having to kick anybody out of products. So that was really the primary complaint, I guess, that we had, and that was modified. So from my perspective, I think we got what we wanted. I'm sure there are other communities that might feel differently. Or I don't know if, Rafida, you have anything to add about?
No, I think like most communities are very happy with how streamlined the process has become. Because beforehand, as you know, like the old Arlington plan is about like 200 pages long. Now every revised plan is I think it's like 20 pages. And if a town wanted to do any kind of modification, they had to go to the DPU and it would be a whole process. You would need their approval. But now that's not the case. Like if like the fact that Arlington is doing this modification, we just have to file the revised plan, and we obviously had this conversation that this is what we're planning to do, and they're all, for it. So we don't need their approval of any kind. It's just going to be, just for informational purposes. So the fact that it's so much more flexible. So I think like most communities are very satisfied, and I think most of our other clients, older clients, are all looking to revise their plans, like now and between next quarter.
Right. Okay, thank you. And just one comment, and I want to commend Ms. Fox and that the whole team really did to have 86% of the accounts in the 100% default product is remarkable, because when we first started this back in 2019, we were concerned about getting above 50% in terms of the number of people that would participate, and the fact that we're proud as a board to be the first to go up there as our default product, but also it takes messaging for people to be comfortable with that and to enroll in it. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Fox and others for this presentation, especially the outreach to those 600 customers. Appreciate that. So on a motion to support and endorsed by Mr. Hurd, seconded by Mrs. Morgan, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am, at the purview of the chair, going to take agenda item 15 next, because I know we have resident proponent and town employees and committee members here. So I'd invite Mr. Pandolfo to join us at the table. This is a request to the Select Board after a hearing filed with the tree warden, which denied the applicant's request to remove a town tree, and as is his right, there is an appeals process, which brings us to where we are today. I also know, and I looked at town council, that this project already ran afoul of our town bylaws with some of the construction, is my understanding. Am I misinterpreting the information I received regarding the driveway and the roots of the town tree?
That's not clear, Madam Chair. I think that there was an issue with that, whether the driveway was appropriate. It's really not before the board tonight, but
Right.
I guess I would say that that matter could be considered in dispute.
Okay, so we'll do that. All right, like to hear from the proponent.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Select Board members. My name is Paul Pandolfo, and I live at 53 Churchill Avenue, and I'm the appellant. I just have some brief paragraphs here that explain my situation. Anyone from the general public, and I wasn't aware because this is my first time before the Select Board, if you don't know the evidence I've presented or the arguments, they're available online on the online agenda, which I just recently found out, and that'll explain my 20-page appeal. The appeal deals with major arguments and secondary arguments, and some of those arguments are enough to overturn this tree warden's denial. But the major arguments that mean the most to me is the safety of exiting and entering my existing driveway. My existing driveway, to anybody who doesn't realize, was approved by the town meeting members in their articles. Recent legislation says you can't do what I did 2 years ago. But what I did is totally appropriate. So I appreciate the opportunity to present to the Select Board why the tree warden's decision to preserve the life of a public tree will not be a benefit to the general public nor the tree itself. The overwhelming issue to be decided comes down to the safety and welfare of the general public's life and limb versus the safety and welfare of the tree's life and limb, especially since the public tree is located directly in the safe passageway of the existing expansion driveway currently being used. And therefore, the tree is extremely vulnerable to risk of vehicular damage as well as being a severe visual and physical obstruction, hindrance, nuisance, hazard, and risk of life and limb to the persons driving and walking to and from and near the driveway, especially during inclement weather conditions while trying to enter and exit onto a narrow, very busy traffic and steeply sloped Churchill Avenue. And Churchill Avenue is one of the more desired routes from Route 2 down to Massachusetts Avenue, the shopping centers and the grocery stores. There's 2 more paragraphs here. And by the way, this overwhelming argument is about safety of the general public and how it will benefit the general public. And if it's not taken down, it will not benefit the general public. Trees ultimately depend on good planting strategies and locations for a long and sustainable life and worthiness. And when you breach these objectives by planting trees in conflict with a resident's zoning bylaw rights or by planting trees too close to driveways, you compromise not only the life of the tree, but the lives of the people using the streets, walkways, and driveways close by. The appellant's appeal is about getting a safe, unobstructing, nuisance-free, injury-free access for the benefit of the general public and the appellant and the residents of 53 Churchill Avenue while entering and exiting the appellant's main driveway and expansion driveway, and for the safe, climate, and functionally efficient and quiet enjoyment of all the people. Therefore, the appellant hereby appeals the recent tree warden's denial on October 28, 2025, to remove a public street tree located in front of the existing driveway at the two-family residence located at 53 Churchill Avenue. The appellant further seeks relief and asserts that if any of the following arguments for the removal of the tree presented by the appellant and contained herein are in favor of the appellant and the agreed upon by the Town of Arlington Select Board, then pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 87 statute, and by the power of this governing town board in these matters, the tree warden's denial to remove the public tree should be overturned. And my conditions that I'm willing to do, or any conditions you may have that are in favor of the removal that you would like to see done, I'm willing to do that as well. The proposed conditions would be, upon Select Board's approval of the appellant's appeal, the appellant will pay for the removal of the existing 7-inch DBH and the necessary stump grinding to 8 inches below grade at the location shown in front of 53 Churchill Avenue, as shown on drawing number 1. And that's this drawing right here, that you all have in your packets. And the tree is currently in this location, and we want to move it to this location because there's sewer and water lines here. And when trees invade sewer lines and do damage, it's not the town's responsibility, it's the homeowner's responsibility. So we want to keep it far enough away that it does provide shade, because if you look at drawing 2, the tree we're talking about is very close to a 39-inch Norway maple that's getting shrouded, and it's not going to do well. That's my opinion. I'm not a certified arborist. So if you see, there's a balance more if it's moved over and away from the utility, the sewer line. 2, the appellant will further pay for the cost of the new 2-inch Princeton elm. I prefer Princeton elm. It's vase shape. It's a very nice tree. It has yellow leaves in the fall. It's beautiful. The one that I would like to remove is beautiful, but it's a hazard, and it's going to risk injury or worse to the general public. And I won't feel comfortable if anything happens to the general public. So I would pay for a 2-inch Princeton elm to be planted down the strip further. The appellant will further pay for the cost of the additional replacement trees to be planted at the town locations by the tree warden at the rate of $375 per trunk inch for the balance of the 7-inch DBH, which totals about $1,875, payable to the Town of Arlington Natural Resources. Further on, the appellant will further pay for the cost of the new driveway apron installation, which has already been partially installed, and the appellant will further complete the total width, the total 10-foot width that's allowed by the town meeting's article and approval, not my rule, their rule, which is called a public right-of-way access, an apron permit number 252543, issued on June 24th, 2025, as granted by the Arlington Public Works Engineering Department. If anybody has an issue with me working without permits, they should, or if it's not allowed, they should contact the Building Inspections Department and the Engineering Department. I don't make up the rules. Town meeting does, and they enforce them.
Okay, we'll stay with the tree.
Sorry, excuse me, Madam Chair?
We'll stick with the tree hearing. We're not going to go into that.
I'm sorry. What, I'm sorry?
Just continue. Go ahead. I'm saying you're right. We're not going to discuss that. That's the building department.
Right.
We're going to stay with the tree
I'm
hearing.
just mentioning that for the.
Right, thank you.
The benefit of the general public,
Thank you.
because there was one that mentioned that. Okay, so the appellant and residents of 53 Churchill appreciate the Arlington Select Board's consideration regarding the proposed hearing letter of appeal, and in accordance with their conditions of appeal, hereby request that the Arlington Select Board overturn the tree warden's denial of the public tree removal at 53 Churchill Avenue, set forth on October 28th, and allow the public tree in front of 53 Churchill to be cut down and removed forthwith. Thank you very much. I'll be open to, by the way, there's evidence by the Vanass Associates who did a traffic study. They recommend that the tree is a hazard. It should be removed for the benefit of the public and all parties.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hurd?
I don't have a comment at this time.
Okay.
My internet is not working, so I'm not texting. I'm pulling the information up on my phone
Okay.
in case it looks like I'm being rude to anyone.
Attorney Cunningham?
Madam Chair, thank you. Just wanted, as the chair correctly noted, what's before the board tonight is a hearing under Chapter 87, Section 4. Whether a resident has a right to an apron that's wider than it is now under town zoning bylaws does not affect the ability of this board to consider under Chapter 87 whether to allow the removal of a tree. So just want to clarify, the chair correctly stated, what is before the board tonight is whether they want to grant an appeal to remove a tree under Chapter 87, Section 4. Relevance to a town zoning bylaw should not be part of the discussion.
Thank you. And we have our tree warden here, if we could invite him up. We'll just switch seats. There's only one microphone, I'm sorry. You can leave your materials there if you want. It's up to you, whatever's
I
easier.
don't think I need it.
Oh, you can. Just name and position for the record.
Yep. Hi, good evening. I'm Tim LaQueve. I'm the Arlington Tree Warden. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. So I received a public removal request at 53 Churchill Ave to expand the driveway. So on September 24th, I made a site visit, and I noticed that there was a tree located proximity to the driveway apron. The tree is healthy. It's a 7-inch Princeton elm tree that we planted in 2017. And at that time, I evaluated the tree, and the tree is healthy. At that time, the tree is not permitted to be removed. This is Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 87. So at that time, I reached out to the resident and let them know that we cannot remove the tree. It's not my tree, it's not your tree, it's everybody's tree. Trees growing in the public right-of-way are considered public assets. At that time, the resident asked for a tree hearing. So we did have a tree hearing on October 28th, and I received 2 objection letters. I was not the one that denied the removal. I received 2 objection letters from the public. At that time, the tree is not permitted to be removed. So I reached out to the resident. I was at the hearing. I said it's not permitted to be removed, but however, you can reach out to the select board. You could present your case, and they'll either grant you permission or they won't grant you permission. So that at that time, I was driving through the neighborhood on November 10th and noticed that the driveway installation had already started. So the roots had been severed through, underlayment had been installed with crushed stone and wire mesh. And then on October 25th, I noticed that concrete had been poured over, and there's also a driveway installed on the other side of the tree. All this had been done without finishing the permit process or reaching out to the select board for removal. So we are in this predicament now where the requester was following everything that needed to be done according to Chapter 87, but took matters in their own hands and just decided to do the process anyway. So at this point in time, the tree has been compromised, and we'll have to see how it looks like in the springtime. Because not only do the roots keep the tree up, that we know, but also it's important for storage in the wintertime. As those trees defoliate their leaves, they turn sugars into starch and store it in their root system. All that material in the springtime will be pushed back up to the canopy to refoliate. So we'll have to evaluate the tree. If permission's not granted, we'll have to evaluate that tree and see where it is in the springtime. And also monitor that throughout the season. If permission's granted, that's granted, but if it's not, we'll have to continue to evaluate the tree's health moving forward. That's where we are today.
Thank you. Mr. Hurd.
Just a quick clarifying question, because if I look at the plans, there seems to be a lot of pictures of the same location with either no trees or different trees or bigger trees.
Sure.
So it's a 7-inch DBH.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, 7-inch, it's about the size of like a Dixie dinner
Is it
plate.
that tree? Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
say.
yep. Exactly. So to kind of just give you a little bit of background information on this tree, there was a resident that lived in that home prior, 2016.
Yep.
There was a large Norway maple that grew in the vicinity of where that tree is now. The tree was
This one.
correct. Yeah, exactly. The tree was declining, so Public Works removed that tree and ground the stump. Every spring, we plant 150 trees. Every fall, we plant 150 trees. That's 300 total trees in the public right-of-way to reforest our canopy. We do our very best to accommodate residents if they want a tree in a certain location. So at that time, the resident asked us to plant the tree in that location. Our crew does their very best to accommodate the resident. Sometimes we can't because there's still biomass underneath the soil line, because there's still some biomass from underneath the ground. Or maybe there's an underground utility, whether it's gas or sewer or so forth, or water. So we have to be very mindful where we put these trees. We do our best to accommodate, and the resident asked us to plant that. The crew could, so that's where the tree was planted. It's unfortunate that now that the new residents have moved in and they want to expand their driveway, which I can understand, but however, there's a process, and we need to be mindful that we follow that process. So that's where we are today.
One more question. I know we're going to have a number of people from the public that are going to speak before we kind of deliberate, but would you, just as I have you in front of me now, would it be your recommendation, given the situation, that we wait to the spring to see how, before we make a determination on this?
Yeah, in my opinion, that would be the best thing to do,
Because
just to see
right
what the
now, we
tree
don't
looks
know if
like.
it's
Yeah, it's just
gonna
like,
be
you know,
dead
it's just,
and- Yep,
yes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Mr. DeCoursey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. LaQueve, for the presentation as well, Mr. Pandolfo, but for the procedural history here too, because under Chapter 87, Section 4, all somebody has to do is file an objection, and that removes your authority to make a decision. That's why it's here before us. The question I have for you, Mr. LaQueve, is I looked at the street occupancy and trench permit, and that was the authorization that allowed for the driveway to be expanded. And within that document, there's conditions, and the conditions seem to give you continuing jurisdiction over the tree. And I'm just going to read, and for people at home, this is in the reference material that Mr. Pandolfo submitted. It's the very last item that's attached to this agenda item. And one of the conditions was tree protection. The permit, I'm going to read from it. The permit applicant shall not remove, even temporarily, any tree or shrubs which exist within the public right-of-way without first obtaining permission from the town tree warden. In the event that a tree or shrub is damaged, destroyed, or is authorized for removal, the permit applicant shall replace the tree or shrub at his or her expense, and then the species and place shall be determined by the tree warden. But there's a further condition, which is relevant here based on what you saw in November, that an additional condition to this permit, which is what the authorization was for the driveway expansion, is it states that there are public street trees in the vicinity of the proposed work. No work shall be performed that will impact the tree or root system of the tree. Applicant shall contact the tree warden. So it seems to me that this authorization, that the actual permit is still in play, that you still have the ability to go and take a look at it. And if you find in the spring that there is damage, then you could take steps pursuant to the actual trench permit. I'm wondering, is there any, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think these are getting into like legal terms.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are certain parameters that the town can reach out to, reach out to the homeowner and/or contractor that jeopardize the public shade tree, public asset.
Okay, all right. And I know there's going to be comments from the public, and we'll have a further deliberation, but one of the issues that, you know, I would like to discuss with the board is, I know this permit was issued, it was granted, it was accepted by the applicant, and that was the basis for the work. So it seems that that might be the better place to address this issue, but I certainly want to hear from the public on this.
Okay, then wait, we'll go up. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else before we hear from, if there's anyone here in the chamber who wishes to speak on this tree hearing, as well as if there's anyone joining us by Zoom, please raise your hand now. And I would ask people to tailor their remarks to up to 3 minutes. So if I could just ask everyone to step aside for now. Is there anyone here in the chambers who would like to speak? If you could just come up, this gentleman, and then this person in the back, yes. Name and address for the record.
So Keith Schnebley, I live at 78 Webb Cowett Road. In Arlington, I've lived in Arlington for 33 years. I am currently one of the co-chairs of the Arlington Tree Committee. I am not here representing the Arlington Tree Committee. I am here representing my own opinions on this matter. When I joined the Tree Committee, we had, in this very chamber, saved another tree that a developer had damaged the root system on 40 Webb Cowett Road. And I became aware of the Tree Committee and I joined it. And at that time, there was a program that Tim mentioned about the tree planting. And those, at about the same time, we had lost a lot of canopy on my street. And there's been 8, 10, I think now 12 different trees planted on that street that are now about 8 years old, same age as this elm. And at that time, I think Tim has described it as they're kind of hitting their puberty, like they're really starting to blossom and grow, right? And this summer, I actually walked under the canopy of one of those that's very small, right? So within just a few years, these trees that were planted 8 years ago at the start of this program are going to start to really benefit this town. And we continue to do it. We need to continue to do it. Every tree we lose, we take a step back. You've got another 8, 10 years to go on that. So that's kind of the thing that I would like to impress upon the board, that every tree that we lose that's in this program that's this old, we're losing a lot of tree benefit in the town. The replacement trees take a long time. You have to plant quite a few of them to get the benefit of a 7-inch tree that's 20 feet high. So that's what I'd like to think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, come on. And then you next. Just name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Marina Popova. I live at 255 Ridge Street. I'm also a town meeting member of Precinct 13. I also happen to be a member of the Arlington Tree Committee, but I am speaking on my personal behalf, not as a member of the Tree Committee. So I am very disappointed in hearing like all the arguments for how the tree is dangerous to, people around and, and is basically a nuisance, because actually trees is what makes us all healthy and makes living in our town, not only pleasant, but also healthy. But I also wanted to kind of point one thing is that I see that we are kind of focusing on, whether we need to now wait and see whether the tree is healthy or not in the spring based on the damage that is already done to the root system. I think that what we really, I hope that the select board will focus on is consider the fact that, why we have to now wait and see whether the tree is, going to survive or not. Because the root system was illegally damaged, and that was done, against their laws, the bylaws that basically prohibit that kind of behavior. So I hope that that kind of behavior is not going to be, rewarded and, allowed to, because that kind of sets precedent. So I hope that we can speak up for the tree and preserve the tree and make sure that known that we are not going to have something similar happening again when, people just decide that, oh, let me just damage the tree and then, and then I can just replace with whatever I want, because that's not the spirit, and intent of the laws that we have, where we want to actually protect our tree canopy and have the trees growing in Arlington and everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morse? We know who you are, but name and address for the record, please. That's a good, I'm saying that in a good way.
I was going to say, I hope you don't mean notoriously. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I'm the other chair of the tree committee, along with Keith, and I am also speaking not for the committee, but on my personal behalf to do with this particular issue. I only have 2 points to add to what you've already heard. That have been expressed by folks very eloquently. One is that, as the tree warden mentioned, we plant trees every year to try and maintain the tree canopy we have as our Norway maple majority canopy declines. And as you've seen over the past couple of summers, the summers have become more complicated in terms of tree survival. Baby trees, it's very hard to get enough water on them when we have these very lengthy periods of time with drought. And this particular summer, past summer had one. The summer, I think 2 years before that, had another significant time, and we lost a substantial number of the newly planted trees in the spring. A tree like this, which has now gotten to 7 inches, which is a significant caliper, a lot of trees don't make it that far. And even if we plant trees next summer to replace this one or others, if we have another tough summer, they may not make it. So one that has gotten through the 3 to 4 or 5 years of growth, we want to have special attention to try and keep them around and not just remove them. That's my first point, which makes the 7-inch tree an important one. The second point is to point out a paradox here, at least from my understanding of the facts, which may not be complete, but the fact that this driveway was expanded in the past 2 years width-wise to be much wider than it was. And although we heard the applicant, the appellant, present lots of arguments related to safety and safety of this tree, and he has a traffic study that says the tree's too close to a turning radius. Well, all of those things were created by the widening of the driveway that occurred in the past 2 years. Prior to that, none of those safety issues existed. So this problem has been created by the appellant, and is now the safety hazard created by the tree's location is his argument for removing the tree in response to a problem that he created. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone hand raised? Okay.
Yes, have a hand raised. I'm going to be promoting them now.
What the heck? You can, yeah, you can, no, stay there, and you'll be next. You can sit there so you'll be ready to go, but we're going to promote someone from Zoom. We can see you now. We know who you are also, but name and address for the record.
This is almost embarrassment of riches from the tree committee. Susan Stamps, also a tree committee member. and also someone who had a very similar tree right at the end of her driveway, right next to the driveway in East Arlington on Grafton Street. And it was, wait, hold on a second, I have to get rid of my phone here. Am I getting a reverb or anything?
Pardon me? No. No.
It is okay, okay. And that tree, it was kind of a, sort of a pain because it was right on the corner of the driveway and the sidewalk. But that tree gave amazing shade to our yard and our part of Grafton Street. And everybody was very, very sad when we had to have it cut down because it was old and unhealthy. The applicant says that the tree should be cut down for the safety of the neighborhood, but actually, the health and safety of the neighborhood, I'm not sure what his reasoning is, but I will say that looking at the site on Google Maps, I wasn't able to make a site visit, that tree is the only big tree in the area. Across the street, there are 2 large properties across the street, no trees whatsoever, and on the same side of the property, there's a couple of houses down, there's another tree. So in fact, this is a really important tree for the neighborhood to provide shade. And if it's a 7-inch tree, Google tells me that elm trees grow at around 0.5 inches per year, so that says it's about 14 years old, 12 to 14 years old. As Steve Moore said, that is a long time for a tree to grow, and now it's a strong tree, and it would be really sad for the neighborhood and the health of the neighborhood to remove it. And also, he says in his paperwork that he wants to move the 7-inch tree. I think that would be a very difficult thing to do and know that it's going to survive. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I will note that I think that the prior owners of the property were family members of his, and he had them file an affidavit in the paperwork that was online. And the affidavit said, this was in support of this appeal, said that they had not authorized planting of the street tree. I noticed that in that whole affidavit, they didn't say we don't like the street tree, or we object to the street tree, or we're really enthusiastic about him taking it down. So I think at the end of the day, and considering that he's expanded the driveway in the front setback where I don't think there's supposed to be parking or a driveway, but even if he can use it, he could back out of the driveway beside the house and use it as a turning area and go out the front, or go out onto the street, or park in that area, but then go out of it and into the street. So it really shouldn't be a problem, and it's definitely not worth killing this public asset, which belongs to all of us and not to him, for his convenience when he has other ways of getting out of the driveway, and it's a huge asset to the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll come back to the chambers. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Joanne Cullinane. I live at 69 Newland Road. I'll keep my comments brief. I'm not on the tree committee. I'm a resident and town meeting member, however. And I haven't studied all the details of this. It's kind of the first time I'm hearing about it. I just wanted to reiterate that it's not that simple to replace a 7-inch diameter tree, and it's not really interchangeable with a new baby tree that might not make it. It's been said before, but just to point out that I don't know what percentage of street trees that are planted make it, but I think it's a pretty low percentage. I mean, it's certainly not 90+% from what I understand, if anyone knows the figure, but it's been mentioned there have been droughts, and I want to point out the benefits of trees that do make it. They sequester carbon, they cool the air, not just for people who stand under them. Some seem to kind of think that they only provide that benefit if you're, directly under them. They cool the ambient temperature in the surrounding area, and help absorb floodwater, et cetera, or ground, rainfall. So I just wanted to reiterate points that have been made and speak in favor of retaining the tree as a public asset. I also wanted to point out, I came in about 1 minute late for open forum, and I was wondering if there'd be time at the end. Maybe it's up, obviously, depending on your schedules, but if you could find time at the end for me to speak, I'd be very grateful, but I'll do as you please.
I would, but if I do that, I'm going to have to do it at every single meeting going forward. So you can definitely submit remarks, and we have received the petition and the updates, so, but
Okay,
we'll go back to the tree hearing.
thank you.
Thank you. And I think I saw one more hand, or no? Anyone on Zoom?
Seeing no additional hands raised.
No, okay. And Mr. Hurd?
Good. Quick comments?
I will give you 1 minute rebuttal if you want. I know, but this is how the tree hearing goes, so.
I guess the biggest thing was Ms. Select Member DeCourcy's argument about damage to the tree. The tree warden has not presented, and there hasn't been any citation, and he hasn't presented any evidence that any damage was done.
Okay,
And-
all right.
and-
We're going to go back to the tree hearing, though, because I don't want you to go back and forth with Steve. I'm pausing your time, so go ahead.
It's an argument, this is in dispute, and there's no citation, and there's no evidence presented to you that damage was done. If any damage was done at all, it would be minor, lateral, unseeable roots. But they're not presenting any, they're just saying there must have been damage. By the way, a larger tree, if there was root damage, and just walk along Mass Ave, you'll see all the town work and the sidewalks, they're actually big roots being cut. If a bigger tree gets shocked more and probably will die, a younger tree will last no problem when there's minor roots. And by the way, this was a very shallow excavation, like 4 to 6 inches, which is, if you read my documents, it's allowed.
No, I definitely did, and I also took from what you said sitting there that you're not an arborist, so we're going to move on.
Second.
You have about 12 more seconds. Go ahead.
And this tree is not 14 inches like the person said, it's 8 years old. And if this tree wasn't in the driveway passageway and it was 3 feet away, would it be allowed to put the apron in? I had asked Public Works Director Radmacher and LaQuee, I asked twice in 2 letters, and then the third time in person,
Right.
how close could I come to that
Right, but
tree?
that's not what we're here for, and we can't get into suppositions
Yeah.
and hypothesis. That's a whole nother
And
thing.
the
So
only
thank
other
you. That will
comments
be, unless you, we're all set with that. I'm
One
now.
more thing.
All right, briefly, please, because we have other agenda items.
You realize what the Massachusetts rule about trees is? Where roots,
This is not a back and forth for you to question me, so I'm going to say thank you for your remarks. I appreciate it. Now we have to go back to the board. Mr. Hurd?
okay.
So I just want to clarify something I said earlier when I asked Mr. LaQueve about the tree. And my understanding of what the tree warden said was he couldn't tell because the work was just done. So, as you mentioned, that there's no evidence that there is damage, what he said is we have to wait until the spring, and that's what I had suggested to him. If that was the best course of action, was to see if there was damage in the spring. And to clarify with some of the comments, if there is damage, then the tree warden doesn't have to come back to this board. The tree just gets removed and replaced. If there is no damage, then hypothetically, if we denied the application, you could come back at a later date to try to have the tree removed. Just hope that clarifies what I had said earlier, because it seemed like it was a little unclear in some of the comments. I think it's been said a few times, as town council said and some other members of the board, we're not here to make any determination about whether the work violated any permits, either whether by allowed or any of the work was done, outside of the parameters of the permit. It's just to see whether or not the tree should be removed. We had a very similar application about a year ago with my neighbors right across the street.
Sorry.
My head time? No.
Sorry. No. Oh, my.
Right, who were trying to put a driveway in, and they had pretty legitimate reasons. One of the individuals had a van as part of a business. They did not try to put the driveway in. They came and asked for approval. I think there's a lot of driveways all over town that could be expanded, but for the fact that there's a public shade tree there. We haven't ever made it a practice to remove a public shade tree just for the matter of someone to expand a driveway. I'm sure, it could happen, have happened in the history of the town, but I think by precedent, obviously, every time a tree is up to this board to be removed, whether it's a public shade tree or when we try to renovate areas within the town control, a lot of residents express concerns about removing trees. So we, as elected officials, respond to our residents' concerns and the way our residents want us to handle individual situations with tree removals, and it's an important part of what we do. So I just, for one, outside of all the other issues that have been presented, just think as a matter of policy, this board doesn't remove a tree just for the specific request of expanding a driveway, because again, there would be a whole lot of driveways that would get expanded and a whole lot of requests to remove trees if we did that. I think just doing this one would have a lot of individuals look out at their driveway and say, oh God, now they're taking the trees out, so I can expand my driveway to accommodate an extra car, and I don't think that's a policy that reflects what the residents want from this board.
Mr. DeCoursey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Hurd on that. And just for further clarification for the comments that I made, what I heard from Mr. LaQueve was the same thing Mr. Hurd did. We don't know yet whether there's any damage or not. We don't know if there is. We don't know if there isn't. But for me, that this expansion wouldn't have taken place without this permit that was issued earlier this year, the trench permit. It seems to me that if that was the condition that was agreed to and within the permit, that's what's got to be followed. And so now we're at a stage where you're asking us to allow for the removal of the tree. And I just think it's got to follow the condition here later on. And I agree with Mr. Hurd. I don't think we just go ahead and grant that approval through Chapter 87.
Mrs. Morgan?
Right, yeah, it seems like, I think the part that troubles me is that because the health of the tree is what predicates whether or not it can be removed or not, right? There seems to be some sort of incentive for those trees that people believe to be inconvenient to not keep them healthy, which that troubles me. I don't know what we do about that. But it certainly, I hope that no damage has been done to the tree. I hope that it comes back in the spring, if we choose tonight to not allow it to be removed. I hope that it does come back and it is healthy. And I agree with Mr. Hurd. I think, as a board, we, maybe we don't set policy, but we have practice, right? We do things, and it sounds like, as a new member of this board, I don't have the historical context of how we've done things in the past, but it's helpful for me to know that traditionally we haven't elected to remove trees in these kind of situations. So, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hurd?
And I'll just follow up by the comment that I mentioned about the individuals a year ago. We did not allow the removal of the tree, if that wasn't clear.
Okay, and with that, I will entertain, this is a appeal of the tree warden. Appellant is requesting permission to remove the tree, so I will either accept a motion to approve that or to deny that, or something else. So I'll look to my colleagues.
Motion to deny the request.
By Mr. Hurd. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussions or comments? Attorney Cunningham, are we?
Good to go, Madam Chair.
Okay, and a motion by Mr. Hurd to deny, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now go to, and I want to apologize to our economic developer. I thought you were here with Ms. Fox on her agenda item. I should have stayed with the agenda. I should have known better, because obviously you're still here for agenda item 14, discussion and vote, outdoor restaurant and retail permit application rules and regulations. I'll turn, I guess, first to the subcommittee or to the town manager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any of the board members that served on the subcommittee would like to weigh in, I'd be happy to hear from them.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have a written policy yet, but we did meet and discuss changes, and I'm happy to kind of lay out my recollection of the meeting and invite any comments from individuals that were on the subcommittee. But this came out of, a discussion about a month ago about parklets, the kind of abundance of requests that we get from new restaurants, and where anytime we have a new applicant for a common victuals license, it seems it soon follows a application for a parklet. And, these are amazing, and they came out of COVID, and a lot of restaurants have benefited from them, and a lot of patrons of restaurants in Arlington have benefited from our use of parklets. But it's time that we need to take a look at it and make sure that we're not, granting parklets in any situation where they're not necessarily needed, and, where the request is outweighed by the loss of parking in certain situations. So we did meet to review, we had I think, preliminary discussion at a prior board meeting, but we did meet to review some of the potential changes, one of which would be limiting any individual parklet to 2 spaces. And as I lay this out, this is of course subject to board discussion, and once we put this policy in writing, which we'll do following the discussion tonight, we can change it before it's finally approved. We'd also talked about increasing the fee. Right now, I think it's $250 per parklet, regardless of the number of spaces that you take. I think there was just about universal agreement that the fee that we come up with should be per space. So you pay per the number of parking spaces that you take for the parklet. I'm not sure we had 100% consensus on the numbers. I think that's something that will be up for discussion. But we had, based on what other cities and towns have charged, I think we're around $500 a space. And the increased cost will also help. And we're not trying to punish businesses. We always like to support local businesses, but we want to make sure that the cost reflects what we're losing as a public resource for the parking space, but also what we're making sure that the applications are coming from restaurants that actually need the parklet as part of their business, or I shouldn't say need, but get a benefit as part of the business. We had talked about, this was my contribution, is not having parklets pull-in, I don't know if that's the right, head-in spaces. The only place that really happens is Broadway Plaza. There are a few businesses that use the parklets there that, we talked about I don't know if it's part of the actual parklet policy, but, kind of reimagining of Broadway Plaza and how we allocate the space on the plaza itself. There are some existing businesses where, some of the parklets only exist from a certain month-to-month period, but in Broadway Plaza, there's essentially full-time infrastructure for specific businesses, to see if we could sort of reimagine that to accommodate some of the businesses that currently use the head-in spaces. And then I think one of the main things that we had talked about was shortening the period, where after discussions, I believe we came up with June 1st to September 30th, or October 30th, or September 30th, but again, up for discussion. And again, just my comments is, the parklets are, they're a privilege, not a right. And, you know, I know in some certain instances, some businesses have, you know, organized individuals to reach out to us to preserve their parklets. You know, at any given point, parklets could disappear, and businesses shouldn't be relying on them as part of their business model. But, you know, we're happy to accommodate businesses where we can to use a public asset for their business if it, you know, works in certain situations. So that's all my recollections, and certainly happen to invite comments from other members that were there.
Mr. DeCoursey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, no, Mr. Hurd captured it, and I want to, he was the chair of our subcommittee, and we actually expedited our review of this area and put it above our review of the all alcohol licenses, which we're still looking to do at some point and get back to the board. But I think what came out of this discussion, we'll hear from some of the recommendations that we might hear from Ms. Losai, but we had a good discussion. There's still a few areas that we probably need to work on, but there are some things that are probably ready for a vote tonight.
Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Thank you, Mr. DeCoursey. Yeah, I think a next good step would be to hear from Katie Losai, the town's Economic Development Coordinator, who had provided a memorandum for the board for their consideration this evening. But at the same time, we've also sort of called that out into a slide deck so we can go through the recommendations one by one to see what the proposal is as it compares to what the current situation is with regard to parklet policy in Arlington.
We know who you are, but name and position for the record, and then presentation.
Thank you all for having me this evening. My name is Katie Losai. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for the town of Arlington. I feel very passionately about outdoor dining. Fun fact about me, I actually wrote my master's thesis on outdoor dining for the greater Boston area. So really, it's an honor to be able to execute outdoor dining. But yes, I threw together this slide deck pretty quickly, so bear with me if there's any typos. But first, I wanted to just give an overview of the different parklets that we have here. This is from 2025, so every year we've seen that we've been doing parklets, we've had a little bit of give and take. So, you know, for example, the Heights Pub isn't on here. They chose not to do a parklet in 2025. So for 2025, we've got 2 public parklets, so that's on Medford Street, as well as we technically include Brattle Square. It's really just a couple of picnic tables for Dell's Lemonade and Andrina's Pizza. And then we also have, just very quickly, the Roasted Granola, Zamsa, Quilos Taqueria, Brickstone, New City Micro Creamery, Trist, and Jose's. 3 of those parklets were new for 2025, as you all, most of you, I should say, reviewed those this year. We can move on to the next slide. Overall, general support for parklets in the town of Arlington. We did the Heights Visioning Survey back in January, February. This was specifically asking if people were supportive of the parklets in Arlington Heights. 38% were very supportive of the parklets. Another 35% wanted to see some active improvement that was generally around beautification. As we have all discussed, parking is always a concern. The rest of the survey responses were really people didn't want to necessarily participate in outdoor dining anyways. So we can move on. Thank you, Ashley. To the first recommendation, which, as Mr. Hurd was mentioning, was shortening the parklet season. As a visual, I've provided some foot traffic and bike traffic data from a counter we actually have on the Minuteman Bikeway. This counter is located at the entrance of Swan Place. It's actually provided very generously from Mass DOT. It had been broken for most of 2024, but we got it repaired in time for the 250th. So you can see it was activated in March. So we have over here the existing parklet season, which currently runs from April 15th to November 15th. And what we are currently proposing, as at least a starting point, again, up for discussion, Ashley, if you could move on to the next slide, is May 1st to October 1st. So we have seen a underutilization of the parklets in that beginning and end point. If we go actually back a slide, I just wanted to point out the first kind of spikes that you see in April 15th. The first spike is actually April 20th, so that was the reenactment. So that was an unusual spike that we would traditionally see for the spring season. And in the fall, that high spike is actually September 20th, so Town Day. We can move forward. Recommendation, would you like me to pause and have discussion or move through the slide deck? What would you prefer?
Maybe if you want to keep going.
Yeah.
Yes.
So recommendation number 2 is to, as also mentioned, limit on-street parking maximum to 2 public parking spaces. Right now, we currently do not limit the size of our parklets. So this has resulted in a wide range of sizes. So it looks like some of my table didn't come through, but that's okay. Yeah. So parklets have been using a range of 2 to 3 parking spaces. They've been going from 19 to upwards of 58 linear feet. A parking space in general is about 18 feet long. So if we extend that to 2 parking spaces, it's 36 feet long. If we look at the 2025 parklets, we would decrease 4 of the public parklets. So roasted granola would decrease by 22 feet, Zumside by 11, the public parklet, if we're including the public parklets, on Medford Street by 18 feet, and Trist by 4 feet.
Can I just make a comment on that? Sorry to jump in. So, I mean, do we talk about the public parklet, whether we want to keep that in there? Or, because, I mean, I would be, not to anger individual businesses, but I think a public parklet, I'm comfortable exempting if, you know, if it's a high area location because it can be used by multiple businesses. So, I mean, I would just throw that comment in there that I think that we can exempt that from the limit.
Mr.
Yeah,
DeBoer?
thank you, Madam Chair. No, I agree with Mr. Hurd. I think there might be a concern about the continued structural integrity of that parklet, but I think that's a different situation from the other ones, and I think we did distinguish it in our subcommittee meeting.
Right. So, moving on to number 3, which is adjusting the parklet fee to be per parking space. It is a little bit hard to see from where you're sitting, but I did calculate the total square footage of the existing parklets for 2025. So it goes from smallest parklet size to largest parklet size. So our smallest parklet was Jose's Torta parklet, and the largest was the roasted granola. So this is to really show that even though they're all being charged a flat fee, they're ranging from 165 square feet to over 464 square feet of parklet space. So by adjusting that fee, we're really just trying to make it a little bit more equitable. Any questions on that one?
Sorry, I have another question.
Mr. Hurd, I'm sorry.
Are there any parklets that are not in painted space areas?
Yes, so great question, and
Yeah.
thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So Arlington Center is the only business district in town where we have individually painted parking spaces. East Arlington and Arlington Heights, we only have the parking lanes painted, and Mr. Town Manager can correct me if I'm wrong.
So, okay. And I think that's
accurate.
That's a good answer. So our policy would have to be 2 spaces or a set number, right?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah, it would be 2 spaces or 36 feet, because that is relative to our standard on-street parallel parking spot.
Yes, under the town bylaws, I could not find a specific set linear feet of which we determine parking spaces, so this is based off what I could personally find, so I would maybe even defer to our town engineer or highway supervisor, so
Those new
please-
parking
please
spaces in
adjust.
the center are like 10 feet, so just saying.
They're very tight.
10 feet wide.
Certain vehicles
Size
don't
for a
fit.
Fiat.
Okay.
We can move on to number 4.
We can joke more when there's nobody in here.
Ashley?
Oh, sorry. Number 4 is the recommendation to require a sanitation plan. We really see this in Broadway Plaza with some debris and the parklets looking, not their best. So we recommend requiring a set plan. The town of Brookline requires a sanitation plan. It's not, in my opinion, very prohibitive or really a barrier to entry for participating in the program. It asks pretty straightforward questions of how would you mitigate pests and manage trash. So I would recommend us doing something pretty similar. Next recommendation is adjusting our application deadlines to be semi-annual. Currently, we accept applications on a rolling basis. This is just kind of a brief timeline of how we approved parklets this year. So renewals went out in March for our sidewalks and parklets. Then Jose's was approved in July. Rush Bowls / Brickstone, so they shared a parklet, was approved in August. And then New City's parklet was also approved in August, but they didn't open until later in this fall. So that went out in October. I recommend doing 2 application deadlines, one in the spring so that we can do the renewals and any new, and then one halfway through the year so we can capture any of those new businesses who are looking to get started and open, like that Rush Bowls in New City and any of those businesses. 6, the biggest piece of feedback that I get is people not loving the big plastic water-filled barriers that are required and issued by the town. I would recommend that we allow alternative heavy separation barriers, basically making the town barricades optional. Those bright orange barricades were purchased by the town using grant money. Over the last couple of years, other towns have opted to make this optional as well by alternatively allowing businesses to use large planters, heavy fences. If we can move on to the next slide, I have another visuals. Flexible posts. Other communities have required town engineers to take a look at the alternatives that businesses recommend or are asking for to make sure that they would be safe for people who are eating and using these establishments. Winchester, Brookline, Cambridge are a few of these communities who allow these alternatives. As the barricades also reach the end of their useful life, some communities are requiring businesses to rent or own barricades themselves, which is something I wanted to mention. A community who does this is the city of Newton. So as we are looking to ease the burden on town resources, making that a responsibility on the restaurants is something I think up for discussion. Do we want to pause here or?
No, keep going.
Okay. So.
I have questions, but I'm waiting to the end because.
Okay.
If my colleagues.
I'm wrapping up.
No.
So Broadway Plaza and the parklets that we approved for Rush Bowls, Brickstone, New City, we're very excited to have them, which is fantastic. And I'm glad they did take advantage of those parklets. We don't love that they're taking advantage of, they're using the parking spaces. So we're considering reconfiguring the outdoor dining at Broadway Plaza, because at the end of the day, those are public parklets, essentially, and it can be reconfigured. This is the site plan for the proposed Broadway Plaza. This is from VHB back in 2021. We don't have an as-built, but this is the best we can do. And I also have on the next slide, current day, thank you, Ashley, drone shot. This is actually from the day after Town Day. And if we do another slide, it might be a little bit better. So we do have the option to use, oh, you're good. Actually, do you mind staying on that next one? So we can add seating for Rush Bowls, Brookstone, and New City. And open up those parking spaces.
I know, because I don't like those in the middle. I pulled in one time just for the heck of it, and the people who were sitting there were looking at me like, are you going to hit me? But anyways.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'd also the comment from me about the pull-in was, it's just awkward, but, you get cars on both sides. Instead, like, in the parklets, it's, actually, you can have cars on both ends that you really don't see because of the barricades. But it's also, if you give someone a parking space, you put the barricades in, they're really up to the line, so the people getting out, it almost takes away another parking space. So it really makes it chaotic. And again, the only place that we really have pull-in spaces is in Broadway Plaza or up in the Heights, where unless you want to sit sideways, you can't do one in the Heights. So it's sort of a chaotic area anyways, with cars. It's a parking lot that's also a street. So I think, that was kind of the rationale to think that, and we have another place to put it on Broadway Plaza. So that's why I think as part of this, we should just make, codify that we don't intend to put parklets in head-on spaces.
Okay. So I'll turn it to my colleagues. I know I've always said, and my colleagues also have said this, that also the public safety factor plays in with me, because I'm just, especially the parking spots in Broadway Plaza, I just think they're not safe, and I don't want something to happen and then someone say, well, why did you encourage this? So I think people would kind of pick up on, if I had my druthers, we wouldn't be doing this, because, and the other thing is I have heard from businesses, especially in the Heights, that one business takes up so many parking spaces where there's such limited parking, not just for the businesses on the same side as Roasted Granola, but there's a gentleman that owns a convenience store, but across the street, Cookie Time and Neighborhood Prep and North Ender, and, I consistently have been asked, how come they can take all those spots over there? We barely have any parking up here. And I do point out the board's done everything they can to increase parking. And I mentioned how Mr. Hurd said, since the post office isn't there anymore, we got that spot back. And I do want to turn it over to Mr. DeCoursey, because I saw his hand. But I think what we definitely have before us is, and I think all but one is pretty much clear cut in terms of having the 2 dates for staggered application, which also helps with DPW, so they're not going out all the time, in and out, things like that. Requiring a sanitation plan, $500 per parking spot, no more than 2. And I think the only other thing I heard that went back and forth, and I'd be interested in the subcommittee, recognizing that I would get rid of the parklets, I would much prefer June 1st to October 1st over May 1st to October 1st. Again, in terms of, fairness and equity for the spots that are lost. I think, especially with May, I think June is still kind of busy, but July, August, those other businesses could, kind of take the hit of losing 2 spaces. But I did hear on those on that particular point that we should shorten the period, which I agree with, and whether it's 6-1 to 10-1 or 5-1 to 10-1, I'd prefer the 6-1 to 10-1, but I'll go with what the rest of the board wants to go with. Mr. DeCoursey and then Mr. Hurd.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to add one other thing, and this goes to the Broadway Plaza discussion. I think there was consensus about the concern there, but one of the things that came out of that discussion too is perhaps in the application process, is just asking the restaurant, are you serving within the parklet area, or are people purchasing the food and coming out? Because that goes particularly to Broadway Plaza. There may be a combined space that's appropriate for multiple restaurants, as opposed to if you have table service, they need to have their own area. It also goes to how extensive the sanitation plan should be.
And the heat is coming, Mrs. Morgan. Mr. Hurd?
Yeah, and I just wanted, I had misspoke when I said June 1st. We did propose, we had a discussion about June 1st versus May 1st in the meeting, but I think where we kind of came down is, this can change from year to year as we review. I think, as we're making major changes, we're going to take a look at this anyways to see if it's the next year before, to see what works. And, I think in May, I was happier to expand it in the fall, because I think people kind of, as the weather gets cold, you kind of all right, I don't want to eat out anymore. The reason we kind of landed that May would work is that, when it starts getting warm, that's when, the weather's nice, so that's when you actually have the desire to step out and eat outside. So it might, just for the benefit of the businesses and residents that use the businesses, that May might, warm May could kind of have people that want to come and go outside. And, you'll see in July and August, people are away, and sometimes it's just too hot to be outside anyways. So, I think for at least this year, May is a good starting point, and we are, again, bringing it in, 45 days on the back end of it. But, so that's how we got to May 1st.
So June 1st? We're off, okay. Any other, Mrs. Morgan?
Yeah, so I share your concerns about the safety, just they're big and filled with water, and if a car hits them, the idea is that the car just stops and it doesn't
Yes.
Okay.
They're also, since they're water-filled, you empty them out, they're far easier for DPW to store.
Okay, and do people go around and make sure they're still full of water theoretically?
Theoretically, yeah, they do leak.
Yeah, if to add for context, we have lost 2 units to date due to damage from vehicles. Obviously, if you crack the plastic, we're going to lose the water, so they do have to get replaced if there is ever a vehicle strike.
Okay, because I would imagine that they would just sort of wear out too, and they can crack, and I would think that if you hit one that didn't have water in it, it would be less effective at its job to keep you from going into the space, right?
Yeah, and they are plastic, so they do get more brittle during the cold weather months, but where we're seeing the wear and tear is on the bottom of the units, right? Because they're getting slid on asphalt and picked up with sort of forklifts on the end of a front end loader. So they do see some wear and tear each year.
And if you want to see them, the down Ryder Street where the swap shed is. I'm surprised you're saying there's only 2, because I saw 6 that had cracked. To me, once they're cracked, then they...
2 that we've had to go out into the field and replace.
Oh.
That's not to say when we're
There's 6
stacking them
down
in a
there, yeah,
yard
yeah.
that they don't also...
My thing is, once they're cracked,
Yeah.
they're not useful anymore. But anyway, sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, no, it is something I've always sort of wondered about, and that they're really well lit. The ones that are in the street need to be, the one at Trist, I'm always let's make sure it's nice and bright, because you got to know, you got to be able to see that it's there.
Yes, that having a reflective exterior is something that some communities require.
Okay.
I have a question for the subcommittee, only if you're done, Mrs. Morgan.
No, I am done.
Was there any discussion, and I'm thinking of Trist, that if you do That you have to utilize it for a certain amount of time? Because the one at Trist, they don't even really use for at least half the time. Mr.
Yeah,
DeCoursey?
thank you, Madam Chair. We didn't have that specific discussion, but one thing that did come up with Trist, because it's within the boundary of Town Day, that anything that was granted for that would be subject to their removing the furniture for Town Day and putting it back. But we didn't have anything that, we didn't discuss like a continuity type thing.
So,
In Town Tavern, they're on a sidewalk, they're not considered a parklet, but Andrina's and Mel's is?
Yes, they
What's-
have,
how are
they
they
have a
different?
sidewalk cafe. I'm sorry, did I miss the last part of your question?
How is that different than Mel's and Andrina? Why don't we consider that a parklet, which means then they'd be subject to the sanitation rules and some other things, where Mel's and Andrina, to me, Dell's. I haven't been there.
That's
If you
okay.
understand my question, sorry.
Yeah. So we, as a part of the outdoor restaurant and retail application, we have the sidewalk cafe and the parklets.
Okay.
Parklets are on-street parking. Sidewalk cafe, you can actually have any time of the year, and that it can be flush right up against the building as well, or right on the edge of the sidewalk. You have to have a clear path, it has to be 5 feet wide. So the sanitation plan for a sidewalk cafe, and this is really where Ashley can jump in, would really need to be part of your restaurant operational plan for sanitation.
Okay, so we
Restaurant
don't have
maintenance.
that for tonight, that would be
Yeah.
for, because I can see Zaz now and Blue Ribbon, that's a different thing. Mr. Hurd?
I think just to
Sorry.
clarify, unless I'm wrong, in front of Andrina's in Dells,
Dells.
that's a town.
Correct.
That's not, they don't have a specific application. That's not in the street. It's just literally us putting 2 picnic tables up that people can use. People from anywhere can come from Blue Ribbon and use the picnic tables. And then just relative, we did have some sort of a discussion about businesses that, how much they use them. And, is there a way to kind of track use? And there really isn't without a ton of manpower. But I think what we came up with is, again, paying per space and increasing the price is going to, just in its nature, limit it to businesses that use it. Otherwise, why would you pay the money for the application fee? So,
Okay, so maybe moving forward, because it seems like we're going to have a vote tonight, have a beginning policy that can be revised as we move forward. If it's okay, and the subcommittee has strong feelings, or the town manager another way, if we could have, when people fill out the application for the parklet, for up to, if that's what we vote, 2 spots, if we could also have something that says that they check, that they fill in what they anticipate, what hours using those spots. And the reason I say that, I have that request, and why that would be helpful to me, is if I see someone's requesting 2 spaces, and they're going to use them from 5 PM to 10 PM, but they're going to be blocked all day long, I'm going to try to make the point and convince at least 2 of my colleagues, if I'm still on the board, to say, let's just approve 1 then. Because, because you're taking up 2 spots, and you're not even using them 50% of the time. So, but that just is me, and that's why, if that's okay, if the subcommittee's okay with that when we do draw up the policy, if we could just have a thing that says hours of operation, because that would be beneficial to me. And now I could, that doesn't mean I'm going to get 2 of my colleagues to agree, if that, and that's okay, so. Is that all right? Yep. Okay. So do you want to make one big motion to begin a policy? Do you want to say it, Mr. Hurd?
so sorry if my brain at the beginning of this process wasn't understanding the process, but we have a written policy somewhere, right? So generally, I think we have everything. We can move approval of the recommendations as presented, but I think the more appropriate course of action in the past is to go in and actually redline the policy and bring it back to the board. And then we can make any last minute changes on the spot there, and then just approve the document. So, I mean, we can fuse the comments, or we could make a motion to approve the recommendations, but I think we would come back, and I'm happy to take a crack at this. There's not a ton of meat here to do, but to just get the actual document and then put it back in front of the board with the red lines.
Okay. Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with Mr. Hurd that whatever recommendations the board wishes to move favorable action on, we would then make a first pass at creating those edits in the existing policy and in any areas commensurate on the application itself, and have that on the board's agenda for its next meeting in December to finalize whatever recommendations are appropriate
Or
to finalize.
January. Oh, no, we want to get it done
Such
by
that-
December. That's
Right,
That's
it's published before the new year, so every business that's considering an application for a parklet in the spring has sort of as much notice and awareness as possible of the changes that have been proposed.
So I guess as a member of the subcommittee, we could move receipt of just the comments here, because it would be a little, and Attorney Cunningham can weigh in, but I think it's a little confusing if we move approval of the changes and then move approval again of the document.
Okay, so a motion by Mr. Hurd to move the proposed changes of application of 2 dates, incorporation of a sanitation plan, a fee of $500 per parking spot at 18 feet.
We didn't talk about that.
Oh.
I'm happy to have this conversation right now, too, if we want to.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what Mr. Hurd is suggesting, and I like the suggestion, is that the board move receipt of the recommendations provided by Ms. Lusai, and that those be incorporated into a document that could then be presented to the board at its next meeting for approval, the recommendations that have been made tonight and discussed.
Okay, is that your motion?
Yes, but it's also, I mean, we kind of glazed over that, so we can talk about it when we update the document. We can also, if anyone
Add my
has
hours of
comments-
operation, so Ms. Lusai's recommendations.
And the hours of
And it's
operation.
not June 1st to October, it's May 1st to October.
October 1st.
And, no, it's the court reporter in me. I want to be able to, so.
But I
move-
just-
Yeah, by motion.
Just for me,
yeah.
as me and Mr. Corsi, who are updating this document, if anyone does have any strong feelings on $500 per spot, happy to entertain that now, or we can talk about it when the document is in front of us.
Okay, is there a second, Mr. DeCoursey?
Second.
Did you have your hand up and I talked over you?
No, that's, I think with the clarification, I'm fine.
Okay, Mrs. Morgan? did you
Nope,
have-
I'm good.
Okay, on a motion by Mr. Hurd, seconded by Mr. DeCoursey to accept and incorporate Ms. Lusai's recommendations along with my request for hours of operation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, unanimous vote. Sorry to
Just
make
ask
that
Ms.
more
Meyer if you could
difficult.
send me
I
that Word
will, yeah.
document.
I could even.
So I could flag it in my
together to
email.
edit the document and send it over in a red line version.
Yeah, thank you all.
That would be perfect.
Okay, we now come to the much-anticipated discussion and asterisk vote, date for 2026 override election. And the reason I have the asterisk in the pending long-range planning committee update is myself personally, I was feeling very frustrated with my perception of the town side through the town manager, really, as we like to say, oh, we've checked all the cushions and emptied out all the pockets and things like that. And when Finance Committee first reported to town meeting, next year's fiscal 27's deficit was like 13.5, 13.7 million, and the town manager's gotten it down to about 3.8 million. I didn't see the buy-in and the partnership with town and school leaders, meaning the school, but we had a very productive meeting, the last long-range planning committee meeting, and I feel very comfortable that we're now all on the same page. We're all buying into this and doing everything we can. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. DeCoursey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, yeah, no, as you mentioned, there was an asterisk on this agenda item. I want to commend the chair for putting that in, because the agenda was set before we had the Long Range Planning Committee meeting on Friday morning, December 5th, and at that point, we didn't know what various potential recommendations would be, whether it be from the schools, whether it be changes to the capital plan, whether it be buy-in from the assessors pursuant to what we heard at the tax classification hearing. And I think leaving that open really allowed people who were at that meeting to realize there had to be some real discussions on Friday morning. And there were, as you said, and based on that, we're here tonight to talk about what date, or to actually have our vote on the override date. And we still have more work to do on long-range planning. We're going to meet again on December 19th. And I think, as we said at the meeting last Friday, we don't stop on December 5th. We keep going. We look for ways to reduce the deficit and try to develop commitments that would come before this board as part of an override vote. And as the chair said, we began a town meeting. The FinCom report showed a deficit for fiscal 27, 13.5 million. That is now down to 3.8 million. And I want to commend Mr. Feeney for all the work he's done on that and his team, getting that number down and providing updates to the Long Range Planning Committee. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that as for the override, and thanks to Attorney Cunningham, that the motion is that as part of the annual town election to be held on March 28th, 2026, question for the purpose of voting on a Proposition 2.5 override shall be included. This is only to set the date. We will have until early February to determine the amount and to determine the commitments. But you'll remember last month there was some discussion about what date would be appropriate, and I think we've all developed a consensus on that March 28th would be appropriate. And I think between now and early February, we'll be looking to the town manager for more updates, and I think more of a discussion here in terms of what are the drivers of the deficit, why we need to ask voters, if that's where it goes on a final vote of the board. I think it's very clear at long-range planning, we're going to have to ask the voters, and unfortunately, it's going to be a significant amount, but I think we have done a lot of work. We've taken a look at a lot of things, and I think by the time we get through this process, we'll be in a place where we're comfortable with what the ask is.
Okay, a motion by Mr. DeCoursey. Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Mr. Feeney, is there anything you wanted to?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. I do commend both yourself and Mr. DeCoursey for your work on the Long Range Planning Committee as well, but I think we have made good progress to date, but I would just say that more progress is needed to further refine what will ultimately be the ask of the voters in the what now looks to be March of 2026.
The only other thing I would add is, just for the board's edification, and thanks to Mrs. Morgan for some pinch hitting on getting me up to speed, that one of the things that I was discussing at Long Range Planning, along with others, but was the general education costs, special education costs, and special education costs in the budget originally were 6.5% every year. And Arlington's not unique to that, but I also had forwarded around to the Long Range Planning Committee and others articles from the town of Brookline. Other cities and towns were saying that, you know, the way they budgeted for special education in the past has to be revisited because, and this would have been also applied to Arlington, if we stayed at 6.5% by about fiscal year 30, the special education budget would surpass the town budget. That's not general education, just special education. And I was feeling really frustrated with that, and everyone knows special education is near and dear to my heart, and I'm not trying to deny any services, but the school superintendent and the school committee came in with agreeing to combine the general education and special education budgets at 4.25%, with the caveat that if anything untoward, unforeseen happened, that the town would address that, and, it would be addressed possibly in a transfer, reserve fund or other transfer, as well as they also agreed to call out and separate for budget projections for trending assessments, as well as for people like me and us here on the board, that when constituents ask for it, they will have separate line items for the in-district costs and out-of-district costs, which is fine. And then the 4.25, again, that's something that the superintendent agreed would continue to have conversations with the town manager. But that's where it is at right now, and I'm grateful for that. So if there's no other further discussion or corrections to anything I said that was incorrect, on a motion by Mr. DeCoursey to set the override date concurrent with the local election, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous vote. God help us, there's no other dates we have to set in the future. We now go to agenda item 17, status of select board executive session minutes. Our town council, Attorney Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to note for the board that there are executive session minutes that the board is, when it enters into executive session, those minutes are not always remaining confidential. Those could become public record at some point when the purpose of the executive session has been exhausted. There'll be a periodic review of those matters when the select board's minutes should come up. Those will be on, I think, there have been several that have been approved recently. There remains one executive session that occurred in 2025 for the purpose has not been exhausted. I forget the date, Ms. Marr. I think it was.
Positive. I
But
thought it was 2024, but I could be incorrect.
Those executive session minutes have not yet been released and will not be until the purpose of that executive session has been exhausted. The board is chosen through the leadership of the chair to engage in periodic review of those minutes, and I will keep the board updated as we go as to when those minutes need to be considered by the board for release to the public when their purpose has been exhausted. I will bring them up periodically and notify the chair of the need to place them on an agenda.
Thank you. And future chairs. Okay, I don't think we necessarily need a vote for that.
No.
So with that, we'll go to correspondence received, safe walking routes to school maps, town manager vacation buyback, and town of Arlington host community agreement letters. It's a motion to move receipt of correspondence received by
Move receipt.
Mr.
I think I
Hart.
say this every year too. I know it's part of your contract and I'm happy to pay you back for those days, but we also know from past managers that this position can be overwhelming and take a large toll on your family. So certainly feel free to use the vacation days too for rest and relaxation and recuperation.
And we'll find a vacation that you take that some people don't bother you. We're still going to no, I'm pretty good about that, but point well taken. Is there a second? Oh, Ms. Marr?
Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Mahan. The agenda item number 18, the schools department is also looking for a vote to send it to TAC, a referral to TAC for that agenda item, just to be included in the motion.
So amended.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hurd, so amended. Is there a second, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, second, absolutely.
Any further question or discussion? If not, on a motion by Mr. Hurd, second by Mrs. Morgan, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous vote. New business, Ms. Marr?
I would just note that the annual town meeting warrant submission opened on Friday, December 5th, and it is available. All submissions can be submitted until January 30th of 2026. We did some work to update the submission packet to make it a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit better. So we encourage people to submit and work with council before submitting to us. but it is open and it is available. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Cunningham?
Thank you, Mitch. Very quickly following that, I just want to thank Ms. Marr and the Select Board's office for all their work on that form, and encourage any member of the public to reach out directly if they have any questions about a warrant article.
Will you be doing your yearly town meeting premiere?
Absolutely, Ms. Chair.
Oh, good, because people have, believe it or not, people have asked me, and it's not a requirement, but that's good to hear.
I recently heard from Mr. Diggins, who is still involved in that process, so I'm looking forward to working with the Civic Engagement Group, Mr. Diggins, to do it again this year, so absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan?
I just wanted to make sure that we connect with Ms. Brazil because she was very interested in that date for her mailing. So we want to make sure we let her know that we did that today on time.
Yay.
Because we told her we would consider doing it by now, so
Yay.
we're making our deadlines.
Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick item that I wanted to bring to the public's attention. We did just complete our first recycling audit under our new contract with Waste Management, and I am very pleased to report that our percentage of contamination across 10 load samples that were taken through the month of November was only 3.4%. That is really remarkable. From my perspective, also meets our contractual obligation, so I don't have anything to worry about there, but I just want to commend the community for that because the percent residue is much higher in many other communities. So the Arlington community does a great job recycling, and we're hoping to learn more from what was generating that residue weight or, contamination rate in our recycling to do further education to see what we can do to drive that further, because we did have a couple, maybe 2 samples perhaps of the 10 that actually really drove that rate up, that it potentially could have been much lower. So we're able to track the truck and the day of the week that it was picked up from, so we hope to learn more, but I just wanted to commend the community for what is a really good result from our first recycling audit.
And do you think it's because the recycling is now covered, so it doesn't get rained on and snowed on all the time and make it heavier?
This pertains specifically to the materials that are being placed, and then the weight of the items that are not actually recyclable. So a lot of that is going to be scrap metal, which should be recycled, just not curbside. And those items are very heavy and mess with the machinery that's sorting through the different things in our single stream recycling.
I got wrong recycling, thank you. Anything else? I'm sorry.
That's it for this evening.
Mr. DeCoursey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, and before the meeting started, I was going to mention this, but based on some of the comments at the open forum, I wanted to commend Ms. Zembury in particular and the redevelopment board for the actions that they've taken with respect to 455 Mass Avenue. I'm not here to comment on 126 Broadway. We've received correspondence on that, and that's before them. But there is an issue there, if you've gone through the center, that the construction where the old Leader Bank was, what has gone up there is far different than what was approved. And there was a meeting of the redevelopment board that I saw a replay of, and I was very impressed because you have a special permit that's issued, and now what was approved is not what is being built, and so it creates a very difficult situation for the redevelopment board to enforce that and get answers. And I was really impressed with how that meeting was conducted by the chair and questions that various members have, and it is another side of the work that they're doing. I'm sure it's not pleasant for anybody because you're now coming in after the fact and saying, okay, how are you going to remedy this problem? But I thought she did an excellent job on that, and what we all know is a very challenging board. Thank you.
Mrs. Morgan?
No, nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Hurd?
Yeah, I just want to again remind board members and public that we, the Select Tones, are singing on December 17th at Winslow and 18th at Drake Village. It is, from what I'm told, the residents are very excited about it, so we expect a packed house. And we always, as we brought this back, we sing in honor of our former colleague, Mr. Greeley, who the Select Tones was sort of his baby. And, we had his daughter Katie came to one of the events last year, and we extended to some of the local Greeley family that's there. So, but, you know, Mr. Curl always jumps right in, and he's ready to go, and we'll carve out a time for him to sing a couple solos.
A couple?
And
12?
for anyone that heard the music play last year, we did tune both of the pianos. So it will be a little bit more pleasant to drown out some of our voices. So, I mean, it's an exciting time, and for anyone that actually has a chance to go, it's cool to see, you know, how the residents react to it. It's more of a sing-along than us up there singing. So that's coming up, and then just, it's been so long that we met. It feels like it was a while ago. That I just want to, again, thank Chief Kelly and Firefighter Dustin for putting on the firefighters retirement banquet. It's always a really fun event to go to. We had a bold fashion statement by the town manager. You can ask him about it.
Who, Suave Luque? Yeah,
Never gonna let that down.
what about the salmon pants? I don't know, that takes a strong second, but go ahead.
But it was a great event, and I apologize because I can't remember his name, but we even had an acceptance speech done by way of karaoke, which was
Lieutenant
quite
Rashad,
amazing.
who doesn't say a word.
It must be on YouTube somewhere if you want to Google it. But it's a really fun event, so I'm happy to participate that in each year. So thank you.
And I agree, I called Mr. DeCourcy and said, "You missed the best retirement speech ever." And he gets up, and Mashad's not known to be a talker or anything, and he's like, "Anyone who knows me, I don't like public speaking, I'm afraid of it." He goes, "But I love karaoke," which is 10 times more scary in my opinion. And he's saying, "I ain't gonna work anymore," to "We're not gonna take it," and he was perfect. And then Brian Sweeney got up and gave a really good speech to the new generation coming in about how to be a well-rounded firefighter. And Phil Fumicello, who started from dispatch forever, he remembered everybody he trained under along the way. So it really was one of the best. And I had a great seat where I was sitting, so that was a fun night too. But with that, I have no more new business. I'll take a motion to adjourn by.
And I should mention there was very good speeches by both our town manager and our chair. Motion to adjourn.
By Mr. Hurd, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Morgan. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, unanimous vote. See you at 6 o'clock on the 22nd with your +1s.